A Consumer Reports investigation found that caramel coloring used in dozens of America's most popular barbecue sauces contains 4-methylimidazole, a chemical California's Proposition 65 lists as a known carcinogen. But squeeze the wrong bottle and what you're really pouring over your ribs is high fructose corn syrup, sodium benzoate, artificial dyes, and modified food starch dressed up as backyard tradition. For anyone on blood pressure medication or managing blood sugar daily, those 2 tablespoons are quietly compounding the exact problems your doctor is trying to fix. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to expose 11 barbecue sauce brands that are hiding dangerous ingredients behind patriotic labels and family recipes, including one brand the FDA has actively investigated for a chemical compound linked to cancer in laboratory studies. 2 brands actually passed every single test we looked at. We'll reveal both of them, but only at the very end. Number 1 will genuinely shock you. Stay right here. Coming in at number 11, Sonny's BBQ. If you've ever eaten at a Sonny's restaurant anywhere across the Southeast, you've probably grabbed one of their bottled sauces off the grocery shelf thinking you were bringing home that same authentic pit flavor. That's the pitch. Real barbecue from a real smokehouse, a brand built on wood-fired tradition and family gatherings. Then you flip the bottle around and read the fine print. Sonny's sweet BBQ sauce contains artificial colors and artificial flavors. 14 grams of sugar per 2 tablespoons serving. That is more sugar than you'd find in a glazed Krispy Kreme donut, crammed into a space smaller than a shot glass. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day for women and 36 for men. 2 generous spoonfuls of Sonny's and you've already burned through more than half that limit before you even take a bite of your pulled pork. Now taste it. That first hit is pure sweetness, cloying, syrupy, one-dimensional. It coats your tongue before any smoke or spice can register. There's a faint artificial tang underneath, something metallic and hollow that doesn't taste like it came from a pit. It tastes like it came from a factory. Because it did. The bottle says authentic. The ingredient list says otherwise. And for people managing type 2 diabetes or watching their daily sugar intake closely, that hidden 14 grams can trigger a blood glucose spike that throws off your entire afternoon. 1 bottle, 1 label. 2 completely different stories. The smokehouse recipe that never saw a smokehouse. And for people who shop at Sonny's because they believe a restaurant brand means higher standards, that belief is costing them more than the price on the shelf. At number 10, Open Pit. This one has been on American shelves since the 1960s. Open Pit. Original barbecue sauce sounds like a promise. Open Pit. Like meat cooking low and slow over real coals. The reality is a chemical cocktail that reads more like a paint supply list than a recipe. High fructose corn syrup is the very first ingredient. Not tomatoes, not vinegar, not smoke. Corn syrup. And it doesn't improve from there. Open Pit contains yellow 6, red 40, and blue 1. 3 synthetic food dyes that have been linked in peer-reviewed studies to inflammatory responses and hyperactivity. The European Union requires warning labels on foods containing these dyes. America does not. According to the CDC, approximately 98 million American adults have prediabetes, and the majority are over the age of 45. For anyone in that group, or for parents pouring this onto their kids' chicken at a summer cookout, that first ingredient is doing exactly what your body doesn't need. It's spiking insulin, feeding inflammation, and hiding behind a name that sounds like honest outdoor cooking. Open the bottle, smell it. That artificial sweetness is the first thing that hits you. Not hickory, not oak, not charcoal. Sugar. Chemical sugar. Bright, aggressive, fake. Close your eyes and you could be sniffing a bottle of pancake syrup. Because that is essentially what this is. Pancake syrup with a red dye makeover and a barbecue label. 60 years on shelves. 60 years of coloring agents, and not a single pit in sight. Open Pit didn't open anything. They just opened a bag of corn syrup and added food coloring. 3 artificial dyes banned from children's food in parts of Europe, pouring freely into American shopping carts. And that's just the start. Wait until you hear what number 7 was caught doing. It involves something you probably put on your plate last 4th of July. Now at number 9, Publix brand barbecue sauce. Publix is the beloved southeastern grocery chain, more than 1,300 locations across 7 states. Shoppers trust Publix the way they trust their own family. The store brand feels safer, feels more honest than the big national names. It shouldn't. In January 2024, the FDA forced a recall of Publix Deli Carolina-style mustard BBQ sauce across every single store location. The reason? Undeclared anchovies, a fish allergen hiding inside a barbecue sauce with absolutely no mention of fish anywhere on the label. For anyone with a severe fish allergy, one bite could trigger anaphylaxis, a life-threatening reaction from a condiment packet picked up at the deli counter. Nobody expects to check barbecue sauce for hidden fish. But beyond the recall, look at the everyday Publix barbecue lineup. High fructose corn syrup sits near the top of the ingredient list. Sodium benzoate is used as a preservative. When sodium benzoate combines with ascorbic acid, which is present in several Publix sauce varieties that include pineapple juice, it can form benzene. Benzene is a known human carcinogen. The World Health Organization has classified it as Group 1. That deli counter smile. Undeclared allergens inside. 1,300 stores. Millions of families. One recall that barely made the news. For anyone on daily medications who relies on knowing exactly what's in their food, or parents managing a child's food allergy, Publix proved that store-brand loyalty is not the same thing as store-brand safety. Trust the store, don't trust the label. And next time you reach for a store brand thinking it's the safer option, remember that recall. Remember the anchovies nobody told you about. Remember benzene forming inside the bottle while Publix kept smiling? Think you're avoiding these problems by paying more for a premium brand? Not even close. Here's number 8. Blues Hog Tennessee Red Barbecue Sauce. If you know competitive barbecue, you know Blues Hog. This is the brand pitmasters swear by. The one that wins championships. The sauce with the cult following and the premium price tag. $7 to $10 a bottle, sometimes more. You're paying for quality. You're paying for Kraft. You're paying for 490 milligrams of sodium in a single 2 tablespoon serving. Let that number settle. The American Heart Association recommends that adults consume no more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day, especially those over 50 or anyone managing hypertension. 2 tablespoons of Blues Hog Tennessee Red delivers nearly a third of that entire daily limit. Before the meat, before the sides, before the bread. Just the sauce alone. Taste it and the salt hits you immediately. It lingers on the back of your tongue, thick and aggressive, masked by sugar and a vague smoky warmth that fades fast. What doesn't fade is the sodium. Your body holds onto it. It pulls water into your bloodstream. Your blood pressure rises. Your kidneys work harder. Your heart strains. For people already on ACE inhibitors or diuretics managing hypertension, or anyone watching fluid retention after a hospital stay, that sauce is working against every pill you take. Blues Hog also packs high fructose corn syrup and 3 separate sweeteners into that same serving. Championship sauce, championship sodium, championship price for ingredients that cost pennies, competition trophies on the shelf. 490 milligrams of salt in every serving you pour. But here's what really got us. Number 5 on this list did something so misleading, it made us question how any of these brands get away with it. That one's coming up. Now, if you're wondering what you're supposed to buy instead, there are 2 brands that passed every single test we looked at. Clean labels, honest ingredients, and actually safe for your heart. We'll reveal both of them, but only at the very end of this video. Keep watching. Number 7. Bullseye Original Barbecue Sauce. The bold black bottle. The cowboy branding. The name that sounds like it never misses. Bullseye has been marketed as the thick, bold, no-nonsense barbecue sauce since the 1980s. A man's sauce. A grilling sauce. A sauce for people who take their barbecue seriously. Flip it around and the bold stops. 12 grams of sugar per 2 tablespoon serving. High fructose corn syrup as a lead ingredient. Modified food starch. Caramel coloring containing 4-methylimidazole, the compound California put on its Proposition 65 list of known carcinogens after government studies found it caused lung tumors in laboratory mice. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies 4-MEI as possibly carcinogenic to humans. Consumer Reports petitioned the FDA to set federal limits on this chemical. The FDA has not acted, but Bullseye keeps pouring it in. Why does a barbecue sauce need artificial brown coloring? Because the ingredients themselves don't produce the dark, smoky color consumers expect, so they manufacture it. They add chemicals to make it look like something it isn't. That's not bold. That's deception in a black bottle. For anyone on statin medications or managing cholesterol, those 12 grams of sugar per serving directly raise triglycerides. For families grilling every weekend through the summer, the cumulative sugar and chemical exposure adds up fast. Why do you think a barbecue sauce is allowed to call itself bold and original when the first ingredient is corn syrup and the color comes from a lab? Who exactly is that marketing protecting? Not your heart, not your family, just their bottom line. Bold flavor, borrowed credibility, chemical brown coloring to make it look real. That black bottle isn't hiding anything premium. It's hiding everything they don't want you to see. This next brand has a loyal fan base that swears by it. What the ingredient list shows is a very different story. Number 6 is Jack Daniel's Original BBQ Sauce. The whiskey barrel on the label, the Lynchburg, Tennessee heritage, the unmistakable implication that this sauce is crafted with the same care as the whiskey itself, handed down. Tradition soaked, premium. Cane sugar is the first ingredient. Not tomatoes, not whiskey, sugar. Then comes more sugar in the form of molasses, tamarind concentrate, and pineapple concentrate. All told, 15 grams of sugar per 2 tablespoons serving. That is nearly 4 teaspoons of sugar in 2 spoonfuls of barbecue sauce. More sugar than a full-size Hershey's milk chocolate bar per ounce. The American Heart Association says men should consume no more than 9 teaspoons of added sugar per day. Women, 6 teaspoons. 2 servings of Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce and you've already crossed the line for women and nearly hit the limit for men. And that's before the baked beans, the cornbread, and the sweet tea. It also carries 10% of the recommended daily sodium per serving. Jack Daniel's won a gold medal at the 2022 Dubai International Taste Awards. A medal for flavor, not for health. Open the bottle and smell it. Sweet, thick, almost dessert-like. The whiskey heritage evaporates the moment you read the label. The sticky, candy-like coating it leaves on your ribs isn't slow smoked depth. It's sugar glaze. For people managing insulin sensitivity or families pouring this onto plates every cookout weekend, that sweetness is silently feeding the exact conditions your doctor warned you about. Whiskey on the label, sugar in the bottle, Tennessee tradition, rewritten by a marketing department, a gold medal for taste and a failing grade for your health. If this is already making you rethink what's in your pantry, hit that subscribe button right now. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these exposés. Number 5 is KC Masterpiece Original Barbecue Sauce. Kansas City is sacred ground for barbecue. The name alone carries weight. Pitmasters, smoke, generations of Kraft. KC Masterpiece borrowed all that credibility and turned it into a mass-produced sauce with a chemical aftertaste that competitors have publicly mocked. That aftertaste comes from liquid smoke, a controversial flavoring ingredient that even barbecue purists consider an insult. But the health implications go deeper than taste. A Johns Hopkins medicine study found that liquid smoke activates high levels of P53, a tumor suppressor gene that responds to DNA damage. When P53 is activated at high levels, it signals that cells are under serious stress, the kind associated with carcinogenic exposure. KC Masterpiece also contains caramel coloring, modified food starch, and 11 grams of added sugar per serving. 230 milligrams of sodium. The bottle says original. The ingredient list says processed. For people managing cardiovascular risk or already taking daily heart medication, KC Masterpiece hits on every red flag your cardiologist warned about. Sugar, sodium, chemical additives. People make cookies with this sauce. That is not a joke. There are actual recipes online using KC Masterpiece as a cookie ingredient because it is that sweet. When your barbecue sauce doubles as a dessert base, something is deeply wrong. Kansas City didn't build its reputation on corn syrup and liquid smoke, but KC Masterpiece built its fortune on it. Sacred name, factory ingredients. A city's reputation bottled and sold for $3. Kansas City deserves better than this. So does your body. That one stung. But number 3 on this list is worse. Much worse. And it involves a brand that almost every household in America has used at some point. Stay with me. Number 4. Famous Dave's. The restaurant chain turned grocery shelf staple. Famous Dave's, rich and sassy BBQ sauce leads with a friendly face and the promise of award-winning flavor. Dozens of rib-eating trophies. Decades of American cookout credibility. The label says legendary. The ingredient panel tells you what legendary actually means. High fructose corn syrup, natural smoke flavor, and roughly 20% of the recommended daily sodium intake for adults watching their heart health in a single 2 tablespoon serving. Famous Dave's parent company is McCormick & Company. In 2022, McCormick faced a class action lawsuit alleging that some of its products contained toxic heavy metals that were never disclosed on the label. The lawsuit focused on spice products, but McCormick's quality control culture applies across everything they produce. When a parent company faces allegations of undisclosed heavy metals, everything under that umbrella deserves a second look. Squeeze the bottle. That dark, thick sauce oozes out with a smell that's more sweet than smoky. Take a bite and you get sugar first, salt second, and a distant whisper of something vaguely resembling smoke at the very end. No complexity, no layers, just sweetness engineered to keep you dipping. And for anyone managing kidney function or already dealing with fluid retention, that hidden sodium load is piling onto whatever your medications are trying to keep balanced. Famous Dave's won trophies for flavor, not for transparency, not for health. The awards are real. So are the corn syrup and the heavy metal lawsuits. Legendary flavor. Questionable ingredients. One famous name hiding ordinary problems. The trophies are real. The transparency isn't. Most people have no idea how to read a barbecue sauce label the right way. There's a simple trick that takes 5 seconds and tells you everything you need to know. We'll break it down at the very end of this video. Don't miss it. Number 3. Kraft Original Barbecue Sauce. This is the one that hurts. Kraft has been in American kitchens for for over a century. Your parents used it. Your grandparents used it. Kraft means family. It means trust. It means the yellow mustard at the picnic, the mac and cheese on the stove, the barbecue sauce on the ribs. And for generations, that trust may have been earned. But the Kraft barbecue sauce sitting on shelves today is not the same product your family grew up with. High fructose corn syrup is the first ingredient. Not tomato, not vinegar. Corn syrup. 12 grams of sugar per serving. 350 milligrams of sodium. 15% of your entire daily value from 2 tablespoons. It also contains potassium sorbate as a preservative and modified cornstarch as a thickener. Compare that to what Kraft barbecue sauce looked like 30 years ago. Simpler ingredients, lower sodium, less sugar. They changed the recipe. They cheapened the formula. They kept the same bottle, the same name, the same price, and never told you. Isn't it suspicious how a brand can completely change what's inside the bottle but keep the same label, the same name, and the same price, and nobody's required to tell you? That red Kraft bottle is in more American refrigerators than almost any other barbecue sauce. Millions of families, millions of servings, each one delivering more sugar and sodium than most consumers realize. For anyone who has trusted Kraft for decades, or families feeding this to kids who eat it weekly, the cumulative sodium and sugar load over years of loyal use compounds into real cardiovascular strain and real kidney stress. Kraft built a century of trust. Then they quietly swapped the ingredients and hoped no one would notice. 100 years of family loyalty, 100 reasons to read the new label. The bottle looks the same. What's inside couldn't be more different. That's 3 of the biggest names in barbecue. 3 brands you've probably bought this month. It gets worse. Number 2. Cattleman's Kansas City Classic BBQ Sauce, made by French's. You've seen it in diners. You've seen it at catering events. Cattleman's has been a food service staple for decades. The kind of sauce that shows up at every church potluck and community barbecue because it comes in industrial-sized jugs and tastes good enough that nobody asks questions. Now they should. 400 milligrams of sodium in a single 2 tablespoon serving. That is 17% of the recommended daily value. In one condiment, the sodium equivalent of eating 43 classic Lay's potato chips from 1 squirt of barbecue sauce. For anyone on blood pressure medication, that single serving is fighting your prescription. Your doctor writes you a script to lower your numbers. Cattleman's raises them right back. Add salty ribs, a handful of chips, a piece of cornbread, and you've hit your daily sodium ceiling before dessert. Cattleman's is owned by McCormick, the same company hit with that 2022 class action lawsuit over undisclosed heavy metals in their products. The same quality control questions, the same corporate umbrella. The flavor profile is relentless salt and sweetness. 10 grams of sugar on top of that sodium bomb. Caramel coloring, modified cornstarch. The sauce doesn't taste like Kansas City tradition. It tastes like a sodium delivery system with barbecue paint on top, uniform, engineered. The same every time because it's manufactured, not cooked. For people already managing hypertension or families who use this sauce weekly at summer gatherings, Cattleman's isn't just misleading, it's everywhere. And that's the problem. It shows up where you least expect a health risk. Church dinners, family reunions, school events, places where no one reads the label because someone else brought the sauce. The biggest servings you'll never measure. The sodium you'll never count. 400 milligrams, 43 potato chips, 1 squeeze bottle at the potluck nobody questioned. The most dangerous condiment at the table is the one everybody assumed was fine. And now, number 1. This is the one that made us stop and rethink this entire list. If there's one brand you need to hear about, it's this one. Coming in at number 1, Sweet Baby Ray's, the number 1 selling barbecue sauce in the United States. That is not an exaggeration. According to Statista, Sweet Baby Ray's holds the largest market share of any barbecue sauce brand in America. It dominates grocery shelves. It anchors Super Bowl spreads. It sits in more refrigerators than any other brand on this entire list. And its very first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup. Not second, not blended in. First, the primary building block of America's favorite barbecue sauce is cheap industrial sweetener. Then comes distilled vinegar, tomato paste, and modified cornstarch. Then the real trouble starts. Sodium benzoate as a preservative. When sodium benzoate interacts with ascorbic acid, which Sweet Baby Ray's contains through its pineapple juice concentrate, it can form benzene. The World Health Organization classifies benzene as a Group 1 carcinogen, meaning there is sufficient evidence it causes cancer in humans. Then there's the caramel coloring, the same 4-MEI chemical that California added to its Proposition 65 carcinogen list. The same compound the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified as possibly carcinogenic. The same additive consumer reports petitioned the FDA to regulate. It is still in every single bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's. 16 grams of sugar per serving, 290 milligrams of sodium, modified food starch, natural smoke flavor that contains no actual smoke. Open the bottle and there it is. That unmistakable smell. Sweet, thick, almost candy-like. The smell that millions of Americans associate with summer, with family, with backyards and grills and 4th of July. Now you know what's actually creating it. Corn syrup, lab-made flavor, and chemical coloring. This is the brand I told you about at the beginning. The one with ingredients flagged as potentially carcinogenic. The one millions of people trust without question. For anyone who has been pouring this over their family's meals every week, or for people on daily heart medication who count every milligram of sodium, Sweet Baby Ray's hits every single danger zone. Sugar, sodium, chemical preservatives, artificial coloring, all in one bottle. America's favorite, America's most dangerous. The #1 seller with the #1 worst ingredient list on this entire countdown. Drop a comment right now and tell me, is Sweet Baby Ray's in your fridge? Let's see how many of us have been pouring this onto our family's plates without knowing what's really inside. Remember earlier when I said there were 2 brands that passed every test we looked at? Here's the first one. Primal Kitchen Classic BBQ Sauce. This is what a barbecue sauce ingredient list should look like. Organic tomato concentrate, organic balsamic vinegar, organic coconut aminos, organic spices, no high fructose corn syrup, no sodium benzoate, no caramel coloring, no artificial anything, just 20 calories per serving, only 115 milligrams of sodium, 3 grams of sugar, all naturally occurring from the tomatoes and vinegar, no added sweeteners at all. Taste it and you notice the difference immediately. There's actual depth here. Smoky paprika, tangy vinegar, a whisper of warmth. The flavor builds in layers instead of hitting you with one wall of processed sweetness. For anyone managing blood pressure, watching blood sugar, or on daily heart medication, Primal Kitchen is one of the only sauces on the market that doesn't work against your prescriptions. Here's the 5-second label trick I promised you earlier. When you pick up any barbecue sauce, look at the first 3 ingredients. If sugar, corn syrup, or high fructose corn syrup appears in the top 3, put it back on the shelf. That one rule eliminates almost every dangerous sauce in the aisle. Primal Kitchen passes that test without question. And here's the second one, the other brand that actually got it right. Stubbs Original Barbecue Sauce. Stubbs was created by C.B. Stubblefield in Austin, Texas, a real pitmaster who built his reputation on actual cooking, not a marketing campaign. The ingredient list is short and honest. Tomato puree, vinegar, cane sugar in a reasonable amount, salt, and real spices. 5 grams of sugar per serving. 250 milligrams of sodium. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial colors, no sodium benzoate, no caramel coloring, no modified food starch. Open the bottle and it smells like a real kitchen. Vinegar, tomato, pepper, taste it and there's balance. Tangy, slightly sweet, smoky without chemicals. This is what barbecue sauce tasted like before the food industry turned it into dessert syrup. For families cooking together every weekend, or anyone on kidney-friendly dietary restrictions, Stubbs proves you don't have to give up barbecue. You just have to know which bottle to reach for. Real ingredients, real pitmaster, real barbecue sauce. 11 brands exposed. 11 bottles that promise tradition, quality, and family values while hiding corn syrup, chemical preservatives, and ingredients linked to cancer and cardiovascular damage. Now you know which barbecue sauces to leave on the shelf and which 2 actually deserve a spot in your kitchen. Go check your fridge right now. If you see any of these 11 brands, read that label one more time. Your next cookout deserves better. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.